On here, see if I can play a little YouTube music. Non-copyright YouTube music, I should say. How's it going, everybody? Don't want any of that happening right here. Give me 1 second, everyone. Just getting everything situated here. All right, let's try this stuff right here. Don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear my music. All right, we got 42 people on currently. Hi, everyone. This is Jesse. I'm on here early just to help people find the feed. So bear with me a little bit, just trying to get myself situated. We're broadcasting both to Facebook and to YouTube today. So how's that light looking? It's looking okay. I'll adjust that in a little bit. I got a light over there. It's a little wonky, so I'll adjust it in a little bit. But anyway, we're broadcasting both to Facebook and to YouTube right now. So just kind of getting things straightened out here, trying to figure out how things work. This is my second time streaming to both platforms at the same time. Last was like, I don't remember, Tuesday maybe it was. I can't remember now. Earlier in the week, I did it for the Among Us painting. Yes, it was Tuesday, and we had a problem where at some point, maybe 20 minutes into it, the video, I lost my internet. I don't know if it was something to do with the software that I'm using or it was just an actual internet issue. I'm not sure. Hopefully today we don't have a similar issue. But anyway, hopefully you guys are all doing fantastic. I like to jump on here early to make sure that everybody is able to find the feed before we actually officially start. So I'm going to start playing music in the background. Can you guys tell me if, one, you can hear me, but two, can you hear my music? I've got some music playing in the background. What's happening, Christine Hubbard? How are you? Thank you for being here, Christine. Debbie Patterson says, YouTube keeps crashing on me. That's not good. Let's see. Anita Erickson, how's it going? Anita, how are you? Thank you for being here. So let me know, guys. Can you guys hear my music? Can you hear me? And can you hear my music? Louisa says no music. Gloria Marie, how's it going? Gloria, welcome back. Cheryl Van Der Ret from Manitoba, Canada. What's up, Cheryl? Hi, Gene Peter. Okay, you don't hear music. So something that I noticed while I've been using this software, they mute any music that I play in the background, regardless of whether it's copyrighted or non-copyrighted. I think they're just trying to protect themselves, but that's a little bit of a bummer because I like to play music in the background as we do these. Now, the music that I use is non-copyrighted music, so excuse me, there should be no issue. However, I'm assuming that they probably try to protect themselves just in case somebody starts to play copyrighted music during a live stream. They probably don't want to get sued. So anyway, bummer, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. Maybe you guys can play a little bit of music in the background wherever you guys are. A little bit of just soft music so you guys can hear me over that. The scammers. So we got some scammers on. You guys want to be careful with these scammers. Block user, delete comment. There we go. So for those of you that are new to the page, be careful. There are scammers that like to pop up in the feed. Okay, I want to make sure you guys understand that people will jump on here. They'll put links in the comment section trying to get you guys to click on them to take you to other sites and try to take your credit card information, personal info. I don't know what else. I try to monitor that in the feed so I can get rid of them, but it isn't always easy to do. Okay, so he has lost your Facebook account. Here to reconnect your destination. Give me 1 sec, folks. Give me 1 sec. So I want to make sure that we're still recording. Okay. Okay, ready? Okay, good. Sorry, folks. I'm still trying to figure things out around here. Okay, so just want to make sure that things are working okay. It's always a little tricky when we're trying to use new software because we got to work out the glitches. Whoops, got to get rid of it. Sorry, if you see your comment pop up on the screen, it's because I'm accidentally pressing on the button that brings your comment on screen. So I apologize about that. As I'm going through here trying to delete comments that don't belong on here, I'm accidentally clicking on some of these. So again, be careful. Comments, scammers like to come onto the comments and they'll put links on there trying to lure you away from here and try to charge you for the feed. Don't click on those. Stay away from those. I am I am streaming by myself today. I don't have an admin assisting me, so it's up to me to get rid of those. Anyhow, just be careful. Don't click on those. Some of them are going to get past me. It's the way it is. Simply do not click on them. So we're here early. We're about 9 minutes away before we actually start. But I want to make sure that you guys understand a couple of things. Last time that I was streaming to Facebook and YouTube, like I'm doing right now, there was a problem. I don't know if it was something that was related to me being streaming at the same time to both platforms, or if it was something simply with my internet. It looks like it was something. I know, Julie. Yeah, I know. I need some tea, actually. I've had a bit of a rough throat all week. So anyway, I don't know if it had something to do with my internet or what it was, but I lost the feed. All of a sudden, I looked at my screen and it said, "Hey, you've lost your internet connection." And then I had to scramble. It took me about 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes to get back on. If something like that happens during our broadcast, I will be back. I've got some backup. I got a backup phone. I've got a backup. I don't have backup internet. So if the internet goes down, we're in trouble. However, just understand that if you happen to see the screen go black, give it a few minutes, 5-10 minutes, refresh, keep refreshing. I will be back. Okay. I just want to make sure you guys understand that unless something goes down with the internet, then of course that's beyond my control. If the internet went out in my building, I have a studio in a professional building. If the internet went down here, then obviously at that point, we'd be kind of, stuck without internet. I wouldn't be able to come back. However, stick around for a little bit if you happen to see that. I am experimenting a little bit today for the second time. As I mentioned, streaming to 2 platforms at the same time, and it could be problematic. Hopefully not. Hopefully we're good. All right. Anyway, folks, so how's everybody doing today? Christine Hubbard, yes, I am planning on doing a Mardi Gras painting soon. I'm going to have to kind of look around. I've poked around a little bit at ideas, but I am planning on doing one. So just kind of stick around. You'll see what I come up with. Hopefully something really fun and neat for everyone to enjoy. Sorry, folks, I'm just being distracted a little bit by the spammers. I'm going through and deleting them as I see them. Again, folks, just stay away from them. I don't know how long they're going to stick around. I ban them from the feed as quickly as I see them. But depending on how many pop in, sometimes I get something like 15 scammers coming on at one time, and they're just bombarding the feed. So anyway, just ignore them. Don't click on those links. It's the best thing that you can do. Simply ignore them. You'll see them. It'll say something like, click on this link to watch the live feed. But of course, you're on the live feed. Everything happens right here on Facebook and now also on YouTube. Okay, so anyhow, all right. What's happening? Lynn Dunn from Sebring, Florida. Welcome to you. I think you've been here before, but I'm not totally sure. Heidi Steinhammerl, welcome back, Heidi, from upstate New York, also. Fantastic. Sherry Stewart, how are you? Let's see. What else do we got, folks? We're not officially started. I'm not going to talk about the supplies or anything like that until we get going right at the beginning, right at 1 o'clock. I'm used to doing them at 3, but right at 1 o'clock, my time is when we'll start talking about the supplies. I will say, though, for those of you that are just kind of jumping in to see what's happening, maybe you're not ready to go today, the video is being recorded. So this whole session is being recorded. And as soon as it's over, I save it. It'll be saved both to Facebook and to my YouTube. So just be aware that if you can't paint with me today, you'll still be able to come back and paint along with this awesome piece today. Okay. So the horses paintings, I keep seeing people talking about this one right here. That is not one that we've done yet as a live session on my Facebook. I painted that about 3 or 4 years ago at the request of a client that was having a paint party at their business. So basically, before all this COVID stuff hit, I was doing a lot of in-person paint party events for birthdays, housewarmings, get-togethers. So I'd come over to your house, to your school, to your place of business, and we'd get together with a large group of people, and I would teach you how to paint, kind of like what we're doing here, except for it was in person for large groups sitting together. So I have a friend who runs a horse equestrian. It's an equestrian center and they were doing a painting event. He sent me a picture that he liked of horses kind of nudging, and I made a version of it about 3 or 4 years ago. So anyhow, I am going to be making something like that in the near future, not identical to this, very similar, a little less detailed than this, but I am going to be doing something like it. Real similar feel with the vibrant colors and everything else. So be on the lookout for that. Probably not till early spring, I think, but we'll see. Okay, for those of you that are interested in the horse painting. But yes, that is my painting up there. But again, based on somebody's idea and somebody's a picture that they sent me. So, all right, Michelle Steenberg, how's it going from Illinois? She says, my grandmother and I are joining in. Welcome to both of you. Thank you for being here. For all of you first timers, thank you for being here. For all of you guys that have been painting with me for a while, welcome back. And I am super grateful for all of you. For those of you that don't know, on this Painting with Jesse page on Facebook and now on YouTube, I am doing at least 2 live events per week. Oftentimes I do 3, and maybe eventually I'll be doing 4. I'm not sure yet. But if you guys are interested in having fun creating pieces of art, mainly with acrylic paint, this is the place to be. Okay, if you guys haven't liked the channel, followed the channel, please do so on both platforms. It would be greatly appreciated. It helps the channel to grow. But anyhow, so every week, at least twice a week, we're doing a couple of awesome painting events. So you guys should stick around if that is what you guys like. Okay, so let's see who else is on here. Who else do we got? Judy Barber, first time from Wisconsin. How's it going, Judy? How are you? Let's see. Lily Del Valle from Connecticut. How's it going, Lily? Ellen Stone from Kentucky. All right, guys. Fantastic. Then Anne-Marie. Hey, how's it going, Anne-Marie? Back from Ontario, Canada. So we got about 3 minutes before we actually get started, okay? And I just want to repeat, this question is going to come up a bunch of times during the live feed. So if you guys can help out, let's say we're painting along and you guys see this question come up. It's going to happen. It always does. Is this available afterwards? It sure is. The live session is recorded and you can watch it afterwards. As soon as it's over, I press save and it goes and lives under the live tab on the main Painting with Jesse page here on Facebook, and then of course also on YouTube now. So again, if you guys happen to see anybody in the comments ask that question, I may miss it. I would greatly appreciate it if you guys answered and said yes. The recorded session will be available right after. All right, so who else is on here? Lou Gomes Art, how's it going? First time here, so you're an artist. Fantastic. Welcome. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Lou or La? Lou, I'm assuming. Welcome. Joanne Gilligan Bodzioch. That was a little bit of a tough one. First time from New Jersey. Welcome. Fantastic. Diane Androzin Durant. First time. Alberta? I'm not sure. Drumheller. AB. AB is the abbreviation or the initial. Okay, let's see. Jennifer Ann Clancy from Australia. Fantastic. Little by little, the reach of the page is growing, and I've had quite a few people from Australia joining, people from Germany, England, the Philippines. Let's see, where else? Where else do I remember people joining in from? India. Let's see, some parts of South America sometimes, but pretty awesome. Lots of people from Canada, of course, the United States, where I'm based out of. So pretty dang awesome. Welcome to all of you guys, and I hope you're all prepared to have a good time. So it doesn't matter what your experience level is. We take our time with this. I'll explain everything as soon as we get started, but we take our time step by step. I teach you guys my method of painting, and we have a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys are all ready to have some fun. And there's another scammer. Let me get rid of this scammer. Delete comment. There you go, buddy. You're out of here. Sorry, folks. I hate to have to keep messing with this, but it does happen. Again, stay away from those scammers. All right, everybody. It is officially 1 o'clock. Awesome. My name is Jesse. You guys are on my Painting with Jesse page here on Facebook and my Painting with Jesse channel on YouTube. We are live streaming to both platforms at the same time here. Hopefully nothing happens. Excuse me. Hopefully nothing happens throughout the broadcast. Last week we did this, or a few days ago we did this, and we lost the stream about 20 minutes in. Looks like it was an internet issue. Hopefully that was the case. and it wasn't something to do with the software because that would be a bummer if it happened again. Anyhow, if we do lose the video, please do not leave. Come back, stick around, wait 5-10 minutes, keep refreshing your screen. I will be back. It's only happened the one time. I have tested it various times before and after, and everything worked okay. So I think it was just an internet issue at that time by coincidence. But again, if you guys happen to lose the video, if the video goes out, stick around, refresh your screen, give it a few minutes. Don't just simply leave thinking, hey, Jesse's not coming back. Give it about 5-10 minutes. Hopefully it won't take that long, but do stick around because I do plan on continuing as long as I'm able to get the link back up. Okay. But anyway, all right. So what are we doing today? We're painting this cute, not cute, this vibrant, this beautiful beach scene. Okay. The colors that I'm going to be using for this are pretty kind of self-explanatory, but I will show you guys them in a second. I'll give you guys a close-up. But my basic colors, I've got them separated. Actually, let me come on up. I've got them separated. Part down the middle, and then I'll be using for the sun. These colors here are the combination of colors that I'm going to use to create the sky, the colors of the sky. Then I've got another set of colors that I'm going to be using. The blue and the white primarily are for the water. And then I've got a little bit of black, of course, for all the dark areas in the front. A little bit of brown, I'll be mixing the brown with the white, perhaps a little bit of yellow to create my sand color. I've got a little dark brown here for that. But the original color, I did it with the original sand color, I did it with a lighter brown. Yeah. Now this will give us the same effect. Whatever brand you've got, you should be okay. You're going to be mixing a little bit to create that background. Those are the colors that I'm using. I am using plates. I'll be mixing colors on my plates. I'm going to be painting on a 16 by 20 inch canvas. Whatever size canvas you have will work. You'll just have to maybe make some changes with the proportions and things like that. We'll talk about that as we get going. My brushes, I do have a variety of brushes that I talked about in the details for the event. All this information is in the details of the event. However, I'll give you guys a close-up on these in a little bit. The largest brush that I've got is this 1-inch flat brush, and we're going to start with this for the sky as soon as we get to painting. Okay, and I'll show you guys a close-up of my brushes in just a little bit, but you do want a pencil. We're going to do a little tiny bit of sketching. You don't have to use a pencil board. You could use chalk. You could even use your paints for the sketching part of it. But again, it's really, really minimal. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here in just a moment. But if you guys are ready to go, let's do this. I know I'm ready. So I'm going to bring everything nice up and close, nice and tight into my table so you guys can all see what I'm doing. I do monitor the feed throughout with my laptop. Questions or comments, I will be able to see them. I do sometimes miss some of the comments and the questions because I'm busy painting at the same time. I'll let you know when I'm looking at those comments so that you guys know when to ask your questions. So we are about to get moving here. I'm using a 16 by 20 inch canvas for my painting. I just lost one of my studio lights in here. We'll get that up in just a minute. 16 by 20 inch canvas. Get your paints ready, folks. Get all your stuff ready here. Like I mentioned, we're going to start pretty quickly here. The first thing I'm going to be doing is actually doing a couple of light sketches. Here with me a sec while I adjust my camera. All right. If you're new to painting, I am using acrylic paints. Whatever you got, watercolors, markers, pencils, etc. It's all good. But like I said, I am going to be using acrylic paint. It's what I typically use for my events. Let's see, what do we got here? Do I need to move adjustment? I got to go to All right, folks, let's take a look at our painting. So here's what I want you guys to do first of all. You're going to take a pencil or something to do a light line. So across the canvas, the horizon line for the water is a little bit more than halfway up. So halfway is about right here. Yeah. All the way across the canvas, halfway right here. Our water line, the horizon line is just a little bit more. All I'm going to do is really quickly go through here. Really lightly. Don't have to be perfect with this. Try to get it straight. Make nice light pencil. You probably can barely see it on your end, but it is there, I promise. They really like pencil line. All I'm doing is right off where the top of, so when my water line is going to be, and the other thing I want you guys to notice is this. That's how I'm going to draw this line that goes across like this, curves down. So my beach, what? Just give me one sec, folks. Let me. Oh, gosh. Sounds like you can't hear me. All right. Give me a second, folks. Sounds like the audio level. Let me make an adjustment here, folks. Give me one second. Hold on one second. My new software. Give me a minute. All right. Let me know, folks, if you can hear me okay. How's my audio right now? Can you hear me all right? Can you hear me now? Sounds like I'm making a Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now? Okay. All right. Sorry about that, folks. So I've got to stay really close to my laptop now. Okay. So that's something that I thought I had fixed, but apparently not. Okay. I'll try to keep it where I'm really close to the laptop when I'm talking. Okay. So we got this line across the middle here. Okay. Really light line. All that is our horizon line for that water. And I know you guys probably barely see it, but it's there. It's just a really light line. It's just a visual for me to be able to see where it is that I'm going to, where my sky is going to stop. Then from there, somewhere over here, and I'll try to make it a little bit darker so it's easier for you guys to see. Just make sure that yours are really, really light. Okay, you don't want to have to contend with these when you're painting over them. So from right here, just somewhere over here, I'm just going to draw a little line that goes across, curves a little bit, and of course, that is that part, this part of my beach. Okay, so over here it's a little wider, and then over here it gets a little bit narrower. And that's all we're doing for the drawing part of this, the sketching part. Okay, so take a moment with that. So I got to keep in mind that I've got to stay right in front of my laptop. Okay, so what we're going to do right now, folks, is we're going to create the colors in the sky. Okay, once we've got our sketch for the beach, for the water and the beach, we're good to go. We're not doing any sketching for the rocks in the front or anything else. Just that right in there. And again, it's more for to have a visual of where our sky is going to stop. But what we're going to do first is we're going to mix the colors for the lavender part of our sky up in here. I've got this really deep purple, or it's a violet, deep violet color, that I'm going to mix with some white to make it into a nice lavender color. Okay, I've got my 1-inch brush. Let me reach over and grab those. Got to get used to my new technology here. Got to figure out how everything works. Anyhow, okay, we've got this 1-inch brush that I'm going to be using for this. Okay, let me grab an extra plate. Got another plate right here. I'm going to grab some of this purple. Don't need a lot. Bring a little bit over. Okay, now I'm going to take a bunch of my white, same brush, okay, and I mix the two together. Now, if you guys notice, the color's really light at the top and it slowly gets a little bit deeper in color. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with a really light layer of this color. And it's up to you. Yours can be a little deeper. It could be different hue than mine. Doesn't have to be exactly like mine. So I also like my paint for this to be a little bit swirly, meaning that it's not perfectly blended. I've got a little bit of purple coming through, some areas that are a little bit more purple, some areas that are a little bit lighter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to take, and again, I'm using my 1-inch flat brush. Right after this step, I'm going to give you guys a view of my other brushes. The brushes, the details, the information for the brushes is listed under the event tab, under the details, right? But in case some of you guys may have missed it, or some of you guys are just jumping on here going, oh, Jesse's painting. What supplies is he using? So nice and easy across with my brush. And I do these long horizontal brush strokes to smooth out my lines. If I do little short, choppy lines like this, it'll work, but my sky won't be as smooth. So what I like to do is nice long brush strokes. Just creates a more serene, calmer sky. Okay. Also, what I do to the front, I like to do to the edges. I like the edges of my canvas to match. So if you're painting on a canvas, you can do your edges. You don't have to, it's a choice. Some people like to leave their edges nice and white. I like to paint mine. There's no right or wrong. Okay, so with this, I will continue down a little bit further. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit more purple. So I grab a little bit more purple with my brush. And I just kind of bring it over, blend it in a little bit. Now I've got a deeper hue of this lavender color, and I can kind of come in here. That's probably a little deeper than what I wanted, but it's okay. I'm all right. Now watch what I do here, folks. You're going to learn a little bit about the blending process. Now this is only one way of doing this. There are different ways to blend. I've got this wet, lighter layer above. Now I'm adding this wet, darker layer below it. Okay. Using the same, I didn't grab any more paint. I applied some down here below. Right now I'm going to bring this color up into my lighter section. There's very little paint left on my brush. So as I bring it up, that little bit of dark purple paint that's left there comes up and blends in with the lighter area above. Okay, creating a slight area of blending between the two colors. Creates a really cool little effect. Now you guys can already see this is a little bit darker than what I've got over here. I don't mind it. I actually like it. If I didn't want that deep of a color, I would simply take more white, mix it into the mixture that I just created to lighten it up a little bit more, and I would go right over the top of that. But I like this, so I'm going to keep it. I'm also going to come around to my edge. Now, I can't see the edge over on that side. I'm not worried about it too much. I'll fix it later if I've got to. But simply going through and coloring in both sides. All right. Top is cut off. Let's see. All right. Line is in the middle. All right. Let me go and adjust my camera. Thank you. Thank you, Gloria Marie. Give me a second, folks, while I adjust the camera. Awesome. Thank you, Gloria. Yep. I didn't mention I've also got a new camera. So maybe I'm trying to do too many things, too many new things at the same time. New software and a new camera. Oh, maybe a little too ambitious. We'll see. We'll find out. But all right. So I'm going to bring this layer down further. I'm just going to keep going down a ways. How far down you want to bring your purple color, it's up to you. I'm going to bring mine to about right in here. And I'm just lightly brushing across. Remember, nice, long, smooth brush strokes. All right. So work on that for a moment. For those of you that are new to acrylic painting, in between in between uses, you want to take your brushes and stick them in your water. I've got a water cup here uh, where I leave the brushes in between steps. Let me show you what my other brushes look like. Now, I can't step away from my laptop, so I'm going to try to do this from where I'm sitting. Okay, so next brush that I've got is a number, I'll be using this a little bit later. It's a number 6 flat brush. Okay, this is going to be good when we do the water. Okay, this is especially going to be used in that area for the water. I can also use it for the sand. Okay, although I'm probably going to switch back to the large 1-inch brush that I was just using a moment ago for the sand because it is a larger area. So for the small details and stuff, I can use that, the small number 6 flat. The other brush that I've got is my 3/8 angular brush. What this is, it's got a slanted angle at the top. It's hard to tell. Maybe up against the canvas, it'll be easier to tell, but it's got a slanted angle at the top. It's really skinny. This is going to be really good to create these long stems. Okay, that's what that's for. And then lastly, I've got this number 3 round brush. Okay, little skinny pointy thing we're going to be using to create the little lines up on top, little details in the water and that sort of thing. So those are my main 4 brushes that I've got. If you've got a variation on these, whatever you have is perfectly fine. For the most part, most flat brushes will create these long lines, skinny lines, etc. So don't stress too much if you don't have anything similar to what, sorry, if you don't have the exact same things that I've got, it's okay. It'll be okay. Do your best with what you got. Work with what you've got. All right, here we go. This orange that I've got is a really thick paint. I'm going to bring this over to my plate. I'm going to take a little bit of water now. I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to dip it into my water cup. Okay. And I do this. I mix that water into my paint. So if your paint isn't super thick like mine is, don't worry about that step. So this paint right here just happens to be really, really thick. Just want to take a little bit of water and mix that in. So then the other thing is that it's really, really vibrant. I'm going to start with this down here. I went back to my 1-inch brush. I got a little bit of drip action. Let me clean that up. Okay. So what I'm going to do is going to cross right over the top, just like this. Okay. Now what I do is I take my brush and I start to spread the paint. Start working my way upwards. You guys can see as I'm running out of paint, it starts to get thinner, right? It starts to thin out on the canvas, so it becomes more transparent. So let me load up on some paint again. Now watch what I do here. I want these colors to blend. I want this color right here to blend in with the color up on top, the purple above it. So I'm going to work my way upward slowly. Now there's very little paint left on my brush. So as I bring this color up into the purple area, blending action begins to happen. Now, this purple layer, the original purple layer above, is already pretty dry. I mean, it might be a tiny bit wet. Either way will work. Even if it's a little bit wet or if it's totally dry, this process will still work. So I'm blending this color from below. So I'm running out. I do want to bring that layer up a little higher. So I'm just grabbing a little bit of paint on the brush, just a little tiny bit. I don't want a lot of paint on here, okay? I just want to have a little bit of paint on here so I can spread that little bit up into the area above. Okay, so you guys see how this is going up? This is happening. 2 colors are blending a little bit. Now I can bring the little that's left on here and I just kind of bring it up a little higher. But again, I'm using very little paint on the brush. Okay. So then what did I say earlier I like to do? I like to paint the sides of my canvas. So I'm going to take some of this paint, take a little water. Now I'm going to come around the sides to match. After this step, folks, I'm going to give you guys a chance to catch up. And I'm going to take a look at the comments, see what you guys are saying, see if there's any problems, any glitching, etc., etc. Oh, a little too dark there. So you guys notice what I did there? I accidentally added some of this wet paint that I was using on the edges, brought it up a little too high. I just used my finger to spread it across and thinned it out. All right, folks, here we go. Looking at the comments now. What do you guys got for me? I just have to remember to stay in front of my laptop now. That's going to be something I've got to figure out. I'm used to walking around and going behind the camera, talking. So I got to get used to it. So the colors in the sky, for those of you that missed it, the colors that I used for the top, okay, white. I've got a deep violet that I mixed together to create a really light lavender. I started with that at the very top. Okay, as I came down, I added a little bit more purple to my mixture to make it a little bit darker. Okay, then I added the next layer that I added was this darker one in here. Okay, so it's basically 2 shades of purple that I used. You could use 3 shades, 4 shades, doesn't really matter too much. My main goal was to create a light area up on top that slowly became a little darker as it came down. It's subtle, nothing too crazy about it, nothing too there's not a whole lot of contrast between the two, but there is a difference between the top color here and the color down in here. Next thing I did is I've got this really vibrant orange. Okay, I used that color to add in here. Now this isn't even though it looks like it is neon, it's not a neon color. I do have neon orange that I could use later. We'll see. I may add that over the top of this to make it glow under black light. I do, I've mentioned those colors that I might use some neon colors when I describe the details or the supplies list, etc., in the event page. So we'll see. We have time for those for that neon paint, but this is just that orange, and I worked my way from the bottom upwards, laying down. So once I got to the edge where the purple and the orange are meeting, I've got very little paint left on my brush, and I bring that up into the sky. Okay. So that was that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a wireless mic, Gloria. So this is just orange, Martha. This color in here is just orange. There's nothing else in here. All it is orange. I brought the orange. I started down at the bottom and worked my way up. When I got up in here, right next to the purple for the sky, I had very little paint left on the brush, and I worked that up into the purple area. Okay. But all this is a really bright orange that I've got. Whatever orange you have is what you're going to use. Yeah. So the other day, I do have a mic that I've been using on a couple of my test runs that I did, and it seemed to be working right now. I'm not sure why it is not working. So apparently, I'm using the mic on the laptop. So I have to stay right by the laptop as I'm discussing this. So this is going to be a little interesting today. But all right, folks, you guys got about 30 seconds, then we're going to move on. We're going to start adding the water layer, the blue for the water. Okay. I'm going to show you guys here in a moment what we've got coming up next week. For those of you that are interested, You guys got about a minute for this step, and then we're going to talk about the next step. But first, so next week, for those of you that are interested in doing a fun little Valentine's piece on Thursday, February 11th, we're doing this cute little gnome piece. Okay. The event is up. Details are listed under the event tab on my Painting with Jesse page. Okay. What's happening, Lisa Guarino? How are you? Okay. So next Thursday, we're doing this one here. Okay. Then Saturday, February 13th, 11 a.m. 11 a.m. West Coast time. We're doing this little piece here. This is more, it's open to, they're all open to everyone, right? But this is a little simpler to do. Probably take us about an hour and 15 minutes to do this one. So those are the two events next week. I might be adding one more. We'll see. Stay tuned. What's happening, Jessica and Carol? How are you? Annie Torres, you sure can. Even if you're not at your house, I'm sorry, even if you're not able to paint right now, you will be able to watch the recorded session later. But all right, everyone, here we go. Next step. So I'm taking the same brush that I was just using, the big number 1 flat brush. I'm cleaning it up inside my water cup, swirling it around like this, just taking off as much of the orange and the purple paint that I just used a moment ago. You're going to clean it up. What's up, Alana Eckerman? Grace Chow, how's it going? I'm grabbing some paper towels. Okay, you always want to have paper towels handy. Cleaning up my brush. Okay, taking off as much of that wet paint as I can. Now, what's up, Olga? So now what I'm going to do is remember we've got another plate with the other colors. So these colors, I just separated them on 2 plates just to kind of give you guys an idea. I'm separating the colors, my sky colors, and then the colors that are down in the beach area in the water. So what I'm going to take is I'm just going to take this dark blue. This is phthalo blue, PTHALO. Whatever blue you've got is good to go. Don't worry about it too much. Just a blue. We're going to make some watercolors. Right now, we're just laying down the base color for that water. We're going to come over and add other layers above this to create detail and stuff. Okay, let me scoot my chair over a little bit without getting out of the view of the mic. So, outline my water first. And watch what I'm doing with my brush. Long brush strokes. Again, the long brush strokes create a smooth finish. You don't have to use a long brush stroke. You can use short, choppy ones. Maybe your water's a little bit more tumultuous, right? You could kind of do this. And these little short brush strokes will make a difference. They'll change up what your water, the feel for your water. All right. Nice long brush strokes. And again, this is our first layer of paint. Don't worry about it too much. Now, I overlap the orange and the blue up here, which is why you see that little darker area up in there. Don't worry about that. That was unintentional, but it still works. Now I'm painting my edges. And I missed all this area on that edge there, so I'm going to fix that in a moment. Then I got a little area over here that I need to fix. So those of you that are painting your edges, well, I've got 2 number 1s. I'm cheating a little bit. 2 of these big brushes. Saves me a little bit of time and cleanup. So work on your water for about a minute. And don't sit there stressing too much if your water doesn't look perfectly even. You guys already know, for those of you that have been painting with me for a while, I always tell you this, don't worry too much. Your layers are going to be a little, especially the first layers, are going to be a little bit transparent. Okay, especially with the water area, we will come back and add layers over it. So this first layer is just your base layer. You don't want to get stuck trying to fix it, trying to make everything super smooth on the first pass. It's usually not going to work out. Okay. But all right. Let's see. What else do we have? Lana Finch, happy birthday to your brother. Awesome. On the 11th, huh? Yeah, the gnomes are on the 11th. Correct. Happy birthday to Justin. A little bit early. Yeah, don't stress. Don't stress, as Jesse would say. That's right, Gloria. I got to tell myself that too, especially when I'm having technical difficulties. I got to just relax and go with the flow. It is what it is. We do our best with what we've got. That goes with you know, our tech stuff, right? Our connections, our cameras, our paints, our brushes, whatever we've got, that's what we work with, and we make the best of it. So, all right, everyone, here's what you're going to do next. Now, you want to take your number 6 or something close. I'm going to be using my number 6 flat brush here for this. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm simply going to scoop up some white. Okay. Don't need a whole lot of it. And I'm just going to come across down in here. This will take shape as we go along, but I'm just creating this little layer of white right in here. Yes, I know that the canvas is white, right? So why would I add white over the white part? It does make a difference. The light reflects off a little differently. Now, this is hard for you guys to see. I'm just creating this little layer in here between the water and the sand. And you can overlap your blue a little bit, even if your paint is still wet. A little bit of overlap in there. Okay. So just put down a layer of white in here, and if you pick up some blue along the way and bring it across, that's okay too. As we're working on the sand in a moment, all that's going to be drying. So when we come back to it, we'll be able to add detail over the top. And I know it's difficult for you guys to see what I just did, so let me come in a little close, see if you guys can see it. It's going to be difficult, but there is a white layer of paint that I just added. Let me see if I can turn it, and you guys will be able to pick it up. Okay? All right, 30 seconds. I'm going to step away from my laptop for a moment. What's happening, guys? I see somebody saying something about he only responds on YouTube. I'm actually doing a feed. So my feed is going both to Facebook and to YouTube right now, okay? And I can see everybody's comments, Facebook and YouTube comments. So if I don't respond to something somebody says, it's because I didn't see it. Okay, so just be aware of that. I'm actually looking at the comments now. And because I have to be right in front of my laptop as I'm doing this, I'm able to see more of your comments. I normally am a little bit closer to the painting. Right now, I'm way over to the side. So here's what I'm doing next. I have grabbed another paint plate, another clean plate. I'm going to mix the colors for the sand. Primarily, it is brown and white that I'm going to be using, but you might tint yours with a little bit of yellow. I'll probably add in a little bit of yellow to mine. The brown that I'm using today is darker. The brown color that I'm using today is darker than the original brown I used for this, but that's okay. So when we mix the beach color, you take a little bit of the dark color first. So a little bit of the brown. I'm going to bring it over to my plate. Okay, I just put that down like that. Now I grab a couple of gobs of white. Okay, like this. We want to mix enough to cover the entire area from here down. Even though we have these black sections in the front, we're going to cover all of this in the sand color, and then we're going to come back and add this in a little while. Okay, so but we are going to cover from here all the way down is going to be covered in that sand color. So mix your brown and your white. If you feel like you need to lighten it up a little, you're going to add a little more white and then maybe even a little bit of yellow. So this is probably a little too dark for what I want, maybe by a little bit. So I'm going to add a little bit more white to it. Got a little bit of orange that mixed in with the brush. That's okay. And that looks pretty good. I actually like this. I can also take a little bit of yellow if I want and mix it in there as well, but I think I'm okay with this color. And then I also make it a little bit streaky. I see some white in there, I see some gray in there, I see different colors in there, different shades of the two colors, right? It's not all perfectly one blended color. Once I've got this shade in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up, move my canvas over just a touch. I'm going to come across like this. Let's create a little border. And now from there, I can do this. So I am using kind of a curved brush stroke where I'm kind of following. It's a little higher over here, it's a little lower on this end. I just follow kind of what we did with the water and the sky. In this case, I'm following the curvature of the area of the sand. I got a dried piece of paint that I got to take off of it. There we go. A little stubborn, didn't want to come off of the canvas. So you notice I applied this pretty quickly. And come over to the edges and paint those in. Okay. What I can do at this point is just grab a little bit of white and a little bit of it on the brush. And I'm just going to come in here. You'll see what I'm going to do in a moment. Just putting it in, applying it in different spots in the sand. And then I'm just going to blend those in a little. Create little streaks in the sand. Some areas are going to be a little lighter, some areas are going to be a little darker. And now that's all I need for the sand. Later, using that number 6 brush, we'll come in and add little tiny lines in there. So for now, though, that's all you really need. Okay? So take my brush, right back into my cup. All right. Got about a minute, maybe 2. Okay, everyone, I'm looking over at the comments now. If anybody has any questions, let me know. Clara, happy birthday. Hope you're having an awesome day. So let me show you that I'm going to show you guys my neon colors. Give me 1 second. So for those of you that are going to be using neon colors, we'll apply these towards the end. Okay, but let me show you the colors that I've got. So I've got a red. I don't know that I'll be using it yet. Basically, this is the brand is Americana. It's a neon. This is a neon red, fiery red. And then I've got same brand, a fluorescent orange, neon orange. Okay. Then I have these other 2 colors that actually work kind of similarly. This is a glow in the dark yellow. Okay, from Folk Art, and a glow in the dark orange as well. These work kind of similarly to the neon colors. They're a little more transparent, but you can mix them in with the neons and then they create some really cool colors. Yeah, if you guys don't have any of these, don't worry about it. You can always pick these up later if you'd like. If you'd like to use them, if not, don't worry about it. But we'll be applying those at the very end. Okay. But all right, here we go, folks. 30 seconds and we move on. So I believe this one here is on the 24th. For those of you that might be interested in doing some cardinals, I'll teach you guys how to draw the cardinals from scratch. I do have stencils that I made available for these. They're listed under the event page. Under the event page for this Blue Jays, not Cardinals, Blue Jays, I'm sorry. This Blue Jay piece, I created some stencils. I listed those under the event tab, discussion board on the event tab. So if you guys are interested, go check that out. But I will be teaching you how to draw these completely by hand. All right. All right. Diane says, could metallic colors be used instead of neon? They could. Uh, they sure could. It just depends. Metallic colors, from what I've seen, the ones that I've used, they dry really quickly, so you have to be careful when you're applying them. Sometimes they dry on a little extra thick, but you could. It's up to you. They can be used. It's just the effects are going to be differently. They're going to look a little different, right? So, but yeah, you can experiment with those. All right, here we go. So what's next, Jesse? Wow, good thing you asked, guys. What we're going to do in a moment, we're going to add a little dot in the sun. Right, we're going to put a little spot where we want the sun to be. Everybody's sun is going to be in a different position. Now, this step isn't crucial. You can add your sun later. You don't have to do it right now. Okay, but so that you leave enough space, maybe you already have an idea as to where your sun's going to be. I'm taking my little round brush, little skinny, pointy thing, number 0. Actually, this is number 3 round brush. I'm going to come over. I'm going to find a little spot where I want my sun to live. So somewhere in there, I'm just dropping a little dot. I start with that. The reason why I start with a dot, if I don't like that, once I kind of take a little step back and look at it, if I don't like that, I can easily take it off and put it somewhere else. If I make it too big from the start, that's harder to correct, right? Then I have a bigger area to have to remove, and sometimes it'll take the paint underneath off. So once I've got a little dot, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it larger. Okay, and I slowly make it bigger. Little swirls like this. Again, on the first step, on this first layer, especially the lighter colors, tend to be really transparent. Okay, so slowly build it up to the size that you want, and then we're moving on. We're not worried about how intense it is right now. We're going to make it brighter and more intense and more even with other layers later. For now, all you're worried about is the size and shape of your sun. Placement, size, and shape. Okay? So all I did was, so to my little dot, I just added little swirls around it. Swirled it till I got to the size that I want. Everybody's sun is going to look a little different in size. Don't worry about it too much. Put it onto your canvas and let's move on. Again, it's going to be transparent. It's going to look really bright in some areas. Maybe it's going to look a little darker in other areas, right? Again, because of the transparent nature of the paint, but we're not worried about it. So I can also see that this sun over here is a little higher than the one I've got over there. No big deal. Okay. While we're at it, I'm going to come over here and just add a few little reflections of this yellow down in the water. Okay, we're going to come back and add more later, but for now, since we're working with the yellow, we're going to add a few in here. So right down, straight down from the sun, okay, go down into your water, down in here, and you're just going to add some little lines across. We'll be adding more reflections later. So we'll be adding more yellow in here later. For now, that's about what you want. All right, everyone. 30 seconds, and we move on to the next step. Okay, here we go. What we're going to do next is we're going to add some detail in the water. Some of these lighter areas, we're going to start mixing those in there. So I've got some white and some blue on here. I can do this right here on my palette, or I can take one of my spare plates and I can mix my color on here. So I'm going to take some white and some blue, and I'm going to transfer those over. So some white, some blue, and some white next to each other on the plate. Okay, so I've got this. I've got blue and I've got white right there. Just gonna grab a little bit of both, mix them together. I'm using my number 6 flat. Okay, this little guy right here. Now I'm going to use the skinny part of the brush. So when I mix the paint, before I apply it to the canvas, I'm going to take my brush and press it against the canvas like this. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to start adding some detail, some lines across my water like this. Short, long, all the way from one side to the other. Now you can curve your lines can all be perfectly straight horizontally, or you could curve them with the curvature of the water. I like that look better, curving the lines so that they follow the same turn of the shoreline. Okay, so what I mean by that is this, that I'm just kind of my the highlights that I'm adding run in parallel with the line for the shoreline. And we're going to add a whole bunch of these. Try to keep up, folks. If you start to fall too far behind, though, do the best you can. Keep in mind that the video is going to be available for you to go back and do it later. So you can go back to the recorded version here on Facebook or on YouTube, and you can follow along with the recorded version. What's cool about the recorded version, of course, is you can pause it, you can back it up, you can stop it and leave and come back later. Live is more fun because you're able to kind of chat a little bit. So now I'm going to add just white. I'm going to take just white, or mostly white. Same brush. Now I'm just going to come in here and do this. I'll give you guys a close-up in a little bit. Still using the skinny part of my brush. This is way trickier when I have to stay right in front of the laptop. because this new shade has more white in it, mostly white, creating a contrast, a subtle contrast, real subtle to the color that I added just right before this. Notice I'm just being kind of random about this. These are shorter. I'm working quickly. I'm using different pressure on the brush. So if I want really skinny lines, remember you press the brush against the plate and it makes the point of the brush really skinny. I'm only using the skinny part. So as I come in here and I do this, light pressure creates really light lines, or really skinny lines. If I press down on the brush, it creates thicker lines. It's all the combination of these different pressures, that create different widths of these lines. All of these combined start to create the look and feel of the ocean. Subtle movement. My ocean's pretty calm. If I wanted choppy waters, I could curve my brush strokes upwards in both directions, like this and like that. Lots of them, lots of them. It'll create a choppier look. So this I don't wrap around to the edges. I could if I wanted to. It'd look kind of cool if I brought around all these little details to the sides, right? But in this case, I'm just going to leave it on the front. Okay, so work on that for a little bit. I'm going to take my brush, put it back in my water. Again, in between steps, you want to make sure that your brushes are sitting inside of the water cup. You don't want your brushes to dry out on you. Acrylic paint dries very fast, and if it dries on your brushes, you could ruin them. There you go, Shane. That's right, when we did the Northern Lights. Thank you, Frank. How's it going, Frank? How are you? Where you been? All right, folks, I'm looking over at the comments right now. Now, the look up in here is a little different than this. So far, all the lines in here, they're a little thicker, a little more density, but it still looks like water. I can tone it down later by coming in and adding smaller, thinner, skinnier lines, but I kind of like the way this looks. These are just a little more separated, but there is a slight difference between the two. Still looks like water over here. How's it going, Replika? Replika, how's it going? Well, hopefully you're doing well, Frank. So far, I'm not sure that I'm liking. I mean, I like the fact that I can stream to both Facebook and YouTube at the same time. Most definitely like that. But the mic thing is a little bit trickier than I expected it to be. I don't know that I'm keeping up with all of your comments like I could before with Facebook. We'll see. We'll see. But I definitely like the fact that I can stream to both platforms at the same time. That's pretty awesome. It looks like we got about 30 people on YouTube right now, and then we've got about 256 on Facebook. Fantastic. Hi, Tammy Linsky. Welcome. Happy that you're enjoying it. You came on a day that we're having a little bit of technical difficulty, but that's all right. We're figuring things out. But all right, everyone, we will come back and add more layering over our water, so don't worry about it too much right now. Let's give it about a minute and we're moving on. Do take a little step back and look at your piece from a distance. See where you are and see where you need to make any adjustments. Stepping away from it 4 or 5 feet away gives you a better overall feel and allows you to see where you might need to make some changes. So I'm going to do that right now. Okay, I'm going to step away for a moment and see where I might have to make some corrections. So I'm just taking my little brush here and adding more of these lines, just making this lines, creating more density with these little thin lines. Okay, just adding a whole bunch more, reducing how much of the darker blue I can see. Okay, there we go for now. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create the dark area in the front. All this that you see the silhouette, the black silhouette in the front, we're going to add that right now. Okay, so I'm going to take my number 6 flat brush, the one that I was just using for the water. I'm going to clean it up a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfectly clean. Any color that's in the brush is going to get overpowered by that black. But I am starting with my number 6, my little flat number 6. I'm going to take some black paint, straight black paint. Okay, nothing. I'm not adding anything to it. I could add, other than a little bit of water, maybe. I'm not going to add anything else to it. Simply using black paint, and I'm going to start with the outline first. Okay, so what I'm going to do is right over here. So this section in here drops down about down in here somewhere. Now, everyone's painting is going to look a little different. I don't want you stressing about trying to create the exact same size, area, shape as what I've got. Just kind of create one that's similar and you're good to go. Okay, so this in here, this little area right in here is this. I'm just marking off some points so that I can kind of know where those are going to connect. So this is about this. And then all I'm going to do is just kind of bring my brush, use my brush, thin part of my brush to draw it in. Okay. Now this is going to connect just like that to the other side. And the other side is over here somewhere. And that also comes down, maybe it comes down and connects to that like that. So from here, I'm going to work my way up. Now I'll tell you guys something. It is better to make the mistake that you make this area too small than that you make it too large. Too small can be fixed. Too large is a lot harder to fix. So be careful. Okay. What I'm saying is don't go too large too soon. Okay. So you draw in your edge, you sketch in your edge line, and then you go ahead and fill it in. Now I'm going to switch over to one of my 1-inch brushes because it's the larger the area, the bigger the brush is typically how I do this. So just grabbing my big brush, this one that I used for the water. Again, don't worry if it's got some other color in it. Black, as long as it's not a lot, the black will overpower it pretty easily. Okay, so I'm just going to grab some black. As you can see, there was some blue in my brush. It's very little, so I'm not worried about it. I'm grabbing gobs of the black. I'm bringing them over. There's a little bit of water in my brush, so that helps. Water will help the paint flow. So once I've got this, all I'm going to do is come in here. And then I just fill this in. And I wrap this around to the sides again. Because I'm painting on an easel, I'm not going to do the bottom edge. I leave that for the very, very last step. If you're not painting on an easel, you're painting on a table, then you would go ahead and do the very bottom edge underneath the canvas. If you're painting your edges. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Again, that's just an option. There's a section in the original that I see needed to be touched up. So this isn't profile, right? This isn't, sorry, not profile, but silhouette. The rocks, this little rock area up in here, rock formation with maybe sand or whatever it might be, is in silhouette. So it can be purely black. If you wanted to add a little bit of color to it, like really subtle color, like maybe you wanted to add some brown in there or some green because it's vegetation in yours, you would just mix that color into your black paint and do the same thing right over the top of all this, and that would give it a slight tint, and it'll give it a slight hint that it's vegetation or sand or whatever. For me, there's just a black rocky area in the front. Okay, so go ahead and fill yours in. Remember, take a little step back, look at it, so it allows you to see where you need to make corrections. Now, let me ask you guys something. All right, let me take a look. Looks like this area in here is being blocked, right? Okay, somebody just mentioned it. Okay, I just noticed that myself. Let me adjust for that. I'm going to pull the canvas back a little bit. Again, folks, please bear with me. I am using a new process, and I've got to get used to it. I got to figure out all the little glitches. So let me take a look here in a moment, see if you can see that. Just for now, I'm pulling this back. Maybe I need to go back a little further. I'm going to see if I can remove, I'm actually going to see if I can remove that little banner at the bottom while you guys keep working on that. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm going to just leave it like this. I'm not going to mess with this for now. If I try to remove that banner at the bottom, it might just mess with the video, and I don't want to do that. Later on, once we get past this is forward again. I'll bring the camera up. All right, so work on that. You guys got about a minute and a half. And again, don't worry, this first step, this first layer of paint, it's going to have a blotchy, uh, maybe even partially transparent area or areas throughout. Don't stress about that. Put the paint layer down. After it dries, we'll come back and if you need to make it darker or more even, you can add another layer over the top and that'll clean it up. And so for now, simply put your layer down and we're moving on. Okay, I'm looking over at the comments. Okay, good. Looks like it's better. Hi, Winnie McAdams. You sure can. Absolutely. You can go to my YouTube channel after this is over, and the video will be saved there. Okay. You'll also be able to catch it on Facebook as a recorded session. All right. 30 seconds, 30 seconds. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is by now the area, my sand, all this is pretty dry. I can put my hand across this and there's no wet paint. I've still got some of this original mixture that I applied there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some white and create some lighter. I'm not going to spread this paint throughout all this mixture of paint. I'm just going to find a little spot, and I could have done this over to the side. Like I could have brought this white over to the side and brought some of this over. Probably the better way to do it. But I'm just mixing some white with some of this sand mixture. I want it streaky. And now, using my number six flat, I'm just going to come in here and I'm just going to make little subtle streaks in my sand. Mike, voice is fading. Frustrating. This stuff. Actually, I'm just gonna have to figure out, um, how to fix the mic situation. How's that? Is this better? Kelly Bear, how's it going? Happy birthday. Let me know, folks, if you guys can hear me okay. Is it still losing the audio? How's the audio now? Okay. All right. So here we go. So here's what I did. So the original sand mixture, the color for the sand, I just grabbed a bunch of white. Okay. I found a little area on my plate. I put that white down. Okay. Now I'm going to take some of this color, the sand color, and I mix the two together. I'm creating a lighter area, a lighter color than the original that's in here. So I just want a lighter shade of this. And this new color that I'm mixing can be streaky, can be, have swirls of the white and the gray in it. But once I've got a lighter color, I'm going to use my number 6 brush. I want to use the skinny edge of the brush, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do this. You could use a smaller brush for this if you want. You could also use a stiffer brush if you've got like one of the there's different types of brushes out there, but some have really uh, uh, stiff bristles that are kind of splayed apart. You can come in here and use that brush. Experiment a little bit to create some streakiness in your sand. Absolutely, Martha. Give me one quick second. So what I'm doing is I'm just adding these little streak lines all the way across. They're real subtle. I don't have a lot of paint on my brush. Okay, so again, for those of you that need the sand instructions again, so I still have the original color that I used for my sand down in here, right? The original color. So I still have some here. So what I'll do is I'll grab some of it, I'll bring it over. This is just repeating the sand, the streaks in the sand instructions again. I'm taking some white, I'm mixing the two colors together. So I want a lighter version of the original sand color. Okay, I'm using my number 6 brush. I can press the brush into the plate to make that edge really nice and skinny. And I'm going to come in here and just add all these little tiny lines. They're really small, thin, light. And I can do this. Sorry, let me see if I can do it so you guys can see. So I just kind of do this. But because there's very little paint on my brush, these lines are really subtle in the sand. You can also turn it around and use the broad side of the brush. After you do a bunch of little streaky lines, little skinny lines, you can kind of do this with the broad part of the brush. So again, this. Very little paint on my brush. If you have any areas that are too thick, just use your finger, or you could also use a paper towel and lightly rub over the top to reduce the intensity. All right, something like that. Shane, if you're getting paint all over yourself, that's a good sign. Nisha Bat says, loving mine. Awesome. So the color, so again, the color for the sand is just the same brown that I used originally in the sand, brown and some white. So the brown and the white that I mixed together created this color. It's a lot more white than it is brown to create that really subtle, almost tan color. Okay. That's okay, Nisha. Oh, guys, and then also when you guys are all done with your masterpieces, please share them with me. I want to see pictures of your stuff. Okay. Send me pictures of your masterpieces. You can message them to me on Painting with Jesse. Okay, so a couple of things. We just added the little streaks in the sand. Before we start to add any of these the reeds in here, the stems, which is what's coming up here pretty soon, I want you to look at your sky. I'm going to make a couple of subtle uh, color additions to the sky to create a little bit of more of that cloudiness effect. It's really, really subtle, not such clouds there. It's almost just like subtle changes in the sky. You guys see that up in there? For those of you that want, some of you may prefer a sky more like this, but I'm going to add that here in just a second. Now, the tricky part is that I've got to stand a little further away from the mic, so hopefully everybody can hear me. I'm going to do my best to explain it as much as I can. Okay, so give me a second. Let me prepare, and then I'll explain it. So again, what we're going to do now is we're just going to add a little bit more color in our sky before we start to add in any of the stems. Okay, there are a couple of differences between the original, and the new one. I've got some yellows in here. Okay, so if you guys notice, there's a little bit of orange yellow streaked in the sky, and I want to add those in there. And then I also want to add a little bit of changes, a little bit of subtle changes up in here. Okay, so bear with me while I prep, and then I'll explain everything once I have it ready to go. Okay. In the meantime, take a look at your painting, take a little step back, look at everything, make sure that you're not missing anything, make sure that that you're happy with what you've got, or as happy as can be. Don't stress too much about it though. We're having fun. Okay, so let me see if I can do this. I'm going to start. I've got a little bit of yellow here on my plate. Okay, I'm gonna take a little bit of my yellow here. Okay, the same yellow that we used for the sun. Let me clean my brush up a little. Hold on a sec. Okay, I'm back. So I took a little bit of yellow, really thin layer of yellow, and added it here to my plate. I'm going to take a little tiny bit of my orange, that really bright orange. I'm going to mix the two together. A little bit of orange, real subtle, and a little bit of yellow. There's some water in this mixture. I added a little bit of water, so this is really thin. It's really diluted paint. You don't want this to be thick. Okay, it might cause you some problems. Then I come in here. Okay, give me one sec. It's a little too strong. You want to dilute it. I'm sorry, you want to remove some of the paint. So all I'm doing is just adding this really subtle yellowish orange into the sky. And it has water in it. Remember, it's nice and diluted. And there's very little on my brush. So pick some spots. Use the brush to spread it across. I'm barely feathering in, barely touching the canvas with this color. But again, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of orange, and a little bit of water. I'm going right over the sun. I'll come back and fix that later. So again, this is a very diluted mixture. Giving the sky a little bit of a yellow tone. And you can apply this wherever you want. You don't have to cover every single part of your orange. Maybe pick some spots. So again, just a touch of yellow, touch of orange, and a little bit of water. Whoops, I picked up some pink there by accident. You guys see that over there? A little bit of pink, a little bit of the purple. I added some in here. I'm going to clean that up. So I have a paper towel here that I grabbed a little bit of water with, and I'm just going to lightly rub over the top of that. So again, folks, let me repeat the last steps. So for that yellow part in the sky, that subtle yellow-orange color, I grab some yellow, bring it over to my plate, very thin layer of yellow. Grab some orange, little bit of orange, same thing. Same orange that I used for that background. I mix the two together. Now I'm going to take my brush, I dip it in my water cup. So that I grab a little bit of water. Now I mix the two together. Now I'm going to come in there with this. There's very little paint on my brush. It's very diluted. Paint is very diluted with the water. And I can just pick different parts of this sky to add this to. Okay, I can also bring this color up in here. Bring a little bit of this light orange yellow color in here. And you can bring it up as high as you want. Now, this is already a little different than the original, and I like this. It's real subtle, but I see a little tiny bit of yellow in there. Okay, now for these darker orange layers like what's in here, just gonna grab a little bit of orange. I'll bring that over to my plate. Now I'm going to take a little tiny, tiny, tiny bit of purple. Tiny bit. Put it over here. I don't want a lot. I don't want a lot of this. And I mix the two together. Purple and orange. Using my number one brush here. And again, folks, my apologies about the audio. I'm gonna have to fix that. I'll figure it out. But we'll get through this. We're gonna be all right. We're gonna get through this. And I'm just gonna come in here and I'll bring this in here. I want to make sure that this layer is also nice and diluted. Feathering this onto the canvas. Barely touching that canvas. Okay, so there's one little streaky area there that I like. Add another one in here maybe. Very subtle brush strokes, lightly touching the canvas. Once you've got a little layer of paint in there, you can take paper towel and around the edges, just the edges, just barely touch them so that you can feather some of the harshness. You're smoothing out the area, the edges out just a little bit. Okay, I'm just barely touching the edges. So it helps blend them a little bit and takes some of that harshness from the edges, smoothing them out a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Very subtle, really light, soft techniques, light touch. Might take a little bit of practice sometimes, but those little changes make a big difference. Okay, take a moment to work with that. While you're at it, take a moment when you're done with this step. You're going to take a little bit of yellow. You're going to add some more yellow to your sun. Okay, you're going to add a little bit. By now, that sun should be dry, so we're going to add another layer of yellow over it. And I'll still come back and add another layer of yellow later. But for now, add a second layer. Your sun's going to get more intense. It's going to get brighter. All right, folks, take about a minute or so, and we're going to move on here in a bit. I'm going to step away from the laptop. So Martha asks, did you mix anything with the black? I did not. This is purely black down in here. It might look a little bit off because it mixed in with the paint that's in the background. But I will come back and do another layer over this to make it more intense. You could, however, mix green with it. You could also mix brown with it. You can mix colors with the black to give it a little bit of a different tone. Okay. But you don't have to. When I do the second layer of black over this later, then it's going to get really intense. It's going to look a little darker, more like this. Also, when you do another layer on your sun, over the sun, when you do another yellow layer of that yellow, take a little bit of the yellow and add it down in the water where your reflections are, making them a little bit more intense. Whenever you use a particular color, if you have it in more than one area, makes it more efficient to go ahead and paint those areas that are all the same color. All right, everybody. A forest. We can do a forest. A forest would be a good one. We'll have one. We'll have one. We'll have one sometime before summer, I think. We'll do a forest scene. But all right, everyone. So we're about to talk about the trickiest part of this whole process. And that, of course, is these little guys right here, little skinny stems. And the reason why they're tricky for a lot of people is that making skinny lines, smooth lines, can be very hard. Our hands tend to shake sometimes. And I'll tell you, though, that often comes, the shaking of the hands when you're making these little skinny lines often comes from your insecurity, right? You're not confident. And so especially if you're newer to painting, you're going, oh no, my lines are gonna be crooked. My hand's gonna shake. So I'll tell you a couple of things. I'll demonstrate how to make them first. Before you do them, pay close attention. But a couple of things. Once you commit to one of the stems, you go for it. Okay, you just go for it. The more the quick, I'm not talking about going super fast, but the more quickly you move through the line to creating that stem, the less likely you are to have a shaky hand. So once you commit, you just go for it. Okay. You want to start as skinny as you possibly can first. So you make your lines as small as you can. And if you need to make them a little bit thicker, then you come back and paint over the top, making them a little bit thicker. But you want to start very, very skinny first. Now, whoops, I moved away from the laptop and I was still talking. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use, if you have one, you want to use your angle. Whoa, give me a sec, folks. Knocking stuff over here. All good. As long as we didn't drop any water on the computer, we're good. There we go. So what we're going to use for this step is the angular brush. Okay, that one. If you have one, if you don't have an angular brush, you're okay. You're going to work with one of your small, skinny brushes. But the angular brush will help you in creating those skinny stems. Again, just to give you a close-up, this is the first time we're using this angular brush. It looks like this. Let me get you a close-up. That top part is angled, has a subtle angle like this, and it's really skinny. The edge is really nice and skinny. Okay, so what we're going to do, the other step, hold on a second, folks. Let me adjust this guy so we can keep that from happening some more. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take some water. So I've got my angular brush, I dip it into the water. I've got some black on this plate. I'm going to mix the water and the black paint to create a nice, smooth, almost ink-like in texture mixture. So again, black, okay? So bring some black over to your mix plate or whatever you're using to mix your color with. Take your brush, dip it into your cup. You do this, and then you take some of that water and mix it in with your black paint. What that water does, it's going to make it a lot easier to paint with, to draw with. But you mix that water in really, really well. Okay? A number 4 angular, that should work, Adriana. That should work. So what I'm going to do with this brush, once I've got the mixture, the water and the paint mixed in really well, I'm going to take the brush, press it against the canvas on both sides. I turn it. What that does is it makes this really skinny. Now watch this, okay? The little point, the point of the brush is up, okay? So upwards. So I'm going to find a spot, say, for this stem right here. I'm going to do this. Put it right up against the canvas. This stem is going to end up over here somewhere. Put it down, and away we go. Okay? Different pressures create different thickness in the line. So if I want one really small like this one, I put down very little pressure. Okay? So especially up towards the top, very light pressure, and as you come down, you start pressing a little bit harder so it thickens at the base. You might want to practice this first on a plate, on a piece of paper. Practice the technique first before you apply it onto your canvas. So I've got this reed, this one's over here to the side. So I'm also using my finger. I press my finger up against the canvas. This is all dry. This stabilizes my hand. Okay. I'm not worried about all this stuff on top yet. Right now, I'm just working with those stems. So let's say we have another one over here. Now I'm going to move forward closer to my canvas. So I'm going to step away from the canvas for the laptop for a moment. Now watch, if I need this thicker, nice and skinny, right? Now I need maybe the base a little thicker. I just go right over it again, pressing a little bit harder. Okay. Let's see. We have one up over here by the sun. Okay. Over here. Take your time, folks. This is the hardest part of this whole thing. So this one that I'm about to create goes off the edge. We don't see the top of it. Maybe we have one over here that also does the same thing on this side. It goes off the side of the edge of the canvas. Skinny, start really, really skinny, skinny as you can make it, and then slowly adjust. We're gonna have one more right here. Okay. A blue peach faced lovebird, Rebecca. I'll have to look that up. Sounds cool. Okay, so those are the stems. When I make the tops, I'm switching to, I can use my little round liner brush, this little skinny thing, little tiny skinny thing, same paint mixture with the water in it. And I'll give you guys a close-up of this in just a moment. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys a close-up so you have a better angle of what I'm doing. So right up in here, you know what? I'm going to bring the camera forward. Give me a second. I'm going to bring the camera forward so that there's a tighter view of what I'm about to do. Okay, again, I'm using my little tiny round brush for this little skinny thing. I'm going to start with this big one right in here. Now on the original, that one sticks out a little bit further, so let me go ahead and fix that. I'm going to make this one a little longer. So back to my angular brush. I'm just going to bring this something like that. Round brush. So right at the top, I can do this first and then come through and don't overthink it, folks. Especially if you're newer to this, simply do your best. If you like it, if you enjoy painting, you will come back and continue. You'll continue to paint and you'll get better over time. Just kind of watch what I'm doing. Do your best to mimic. Yes, again, especially if you're new, don't stress about it too much. Enjoy the process. That's part of it. Okay, so there's that. So I'll do this little subtle one, the small one right here. It's a little smaller. So little wispies up over the top. Slowly work our way down a little. Okay. So maybe this one should be a little bit taller. So I just made that correction with my little round one, made it a little bit taller with my round pointy one. This is a little bit smaller. I'll give you guys like I said, I'm going to give you a close-up in just a moment. Um, After we're done with this part of it, it's just going to be adding some more detail to the water. And for the most part, we're done. Once we're done with all these little parts, we're going to come in and add more details, maybe more colors in the water. There's some oranges, subtle oranges right here in the foamy part. And then little orange inside, orange reflections in the water, pinkish over there. I think that pretty much would wrap up the piece. Okay, and then another layer of yellow here, another yellow layer of yellow there. And for the most part, we're pretty done. This one's not that crazy in detail, so it's kind of a nice subtle piece. Nice, probably easier piece to work on than some of the ones I've been doing lately. For those of you that don't know, I have about 65, 66 videos now. If you guys want to check those out, in the description of this video, I put in a link for my LinkTree. If you guys click on that, it'll take you to my LinkTree page. And then at the very top, there's a button that says previous recorded live versions. If you click on that, it'll take you to the Facebook library of all of the past videos. So there's probably, we're closing in on 70. We might even be at 70 now. Videos that you can go back and watch whenever you'd like. All kinds of the stuff that's on my back wall is on there. Okay. But let me give you guys a close up. Again, I'm going to step away from the laptop a little so you won't hear me. I'm not going to talk. I'm just going to show you, and then I'll come back to the laptop and maybe explain it a bit. Yeah, guys, I wasn't talking. So yeah, I wasn't talking. I stepped away from the camera or from the laptop, and I just was demonstrating. I wasn't talking to just to avoid, me cutting out in the process. I was just trying to demonstrate what all that looked like. Now I'm going to do this. I'm going to add one more stem, and then do it again. Now I'm going to explain it one more time. Okay, so back to my angular brush. So I will add one maybe right here. Okay, so there's one here that drops down. The right tools make a big difference. Kind of like when you're repairing a car, a mechanic with the right tools, it just makes a really big difference. We're gonna add one more. We'll add one more right here. What the heck? The same is true in painting. The right tools make a really big difference. Now, the brushes that I'm using are they're from the oh gosh, I just lost my train of thought. The the Fine Touch, and they have a pretty basic starter kit that you can use. And these are just basic starter kit brushes, but like the angular brush is very specific. A flat brush does a particular thing. There's shader brushes, there's wash brushes, there's filbert brushes. Now, they do different things. The right brush will help you in your painting journey. So if you guys are missing some of these brushes, you can get a pretty good variety pack of the fine touch brushes. There's others. Again, there's others. It's not the only one. There are others that you can get that will do the job. But there's fan brushes. There's the round, skinny brushes like this, and they all have their specific uses. You can mimic some of the details or some of the you can like the round brush. I could use the round brush to make my stems. I don't have to use an angular brush. So different brushes will do some similar things. But if you have the right brushes for the job, your paintings will turn out better, and your process will be easier. And so in here, I'm just using the little round brush to come in here and add this detail to the top of this little stem. Now, keep in mind, I'm way over to the left of the canvas, so I've got a really weird angle, but I got to stay over here because the laptop's here. Now, I'm going to get this mic thing figured out by our next session. So please, for those of you that are new, you don't think that this is the way it always is. This is just technical issues that we're having today, and this will be resolved by the next session. But all right. Yeah, fine touch. Oh, so the fine touch brushes, you can get a pretty good set with like 12 brushes, 15 brushes. I've seen some for like like 25 brush sets, 25 brushes in a kit for under $10, especially when they're on sale. You can get them. You can get them online. But Hobby Lobby carries them. I don't remember if Michaels does, but Michaels might also. But yeah, you can get some really nice brushes. Oh, Alana. So if you click on the link tree at the very top, it says previously recorded live sessions. If you click on that, it's going to take you over to the library on Facebook. You'll have to scroll through them, but there's about, like I said, we're closing in on 70. All right, folks. I'm going to pull the camera back. We're going to start talking about the water. Okay. So the event that's coming up next. Somebody's asking about the next event. Let me show you. I think it's Charlene. Let's see, Charlene. I'll tell you in a second. The next event is the Valentine's gnomes painting. Okay, the little gnomes painting. This guy right here. Well, Valentine's gnomes, and that one's on Thursday, February 11th. Okay, Saturday, So this one's Thursday, February 11th, 3 p.m. Pacific time. So wherever you are, you want to check your time zone. Saturday. Now so for this one, I'll be teaching you how to draw it from scratch, but I am going to make stencils available for the gnomes painting. Then Saturday, we're going to be doing this piece at 11 a.m. Pacific time. I'll teach you guys how to draw this one from scratch. No need for a stencil on this one. Should be pretty basic. Although I might, if there's time, I'll provide a stencil. We'll see. Okay. And then there's probably going to be at least one more. You do one more painting in between. Now let me pull the camera back so we can talk about the water, and we're getting close to finished. And then, folks, for those of you that would like to help support, the page, it is greatly appreciated. I do have a virtual tip jar. You guys can find me on Venmo, PayPal, and Zelle. Zelle is just my phone number. PayPal and Venmo, they're both under Painting with Jesse. You can use my email, paintingwithjesse@gmail, paintingwithjesse@gmail to find me. But anyhow, for those of you that can, it is greatly appreciated. You guys can also help support the page by sharing it, making sure you guys like it and follow it, both on Facebook and on YouTube. This information is also listed in the description for this video. Okay. So somebody's asking, what is LinkTree? LinkTree is a website that shows you that people can use to show others all the different platforms. Makes it easy. Makes it easy to find all the different platforms that let's say a website or a page might be on. So I have Instagram, I have Facebook, and I have YouTube currently. And when you go on my LinkTree, you can find all of those on one page. You just press a button and it takes you right to them. Okay. But anyhow, don't worry about it. If you can't find it right now, you can also go to the live tab on the main Painting with Jesse page here on Facebook. The live tab will take you right to that library. So if you went to the Painting with Jesse, at the very top, there's a tab that says live. If you click on that, you're going to see all my old videos. All right. So let's talk about the water. So I'm going to go back to my number 6 flat. Okay, my little number 6 flat brush. I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to take some of this blue, the straight blue that I started with, and I'll just come in here and add a little bit here and there. Don't forget, I'm curving my details with the water, right? You don't have to. It's up to you. But whatever you started doing is what you want to continue with. Okay, once I've done that a little bit, I'm going to take my brush, I clean it up, and take a little bit of the orange, little bit of my orange. Don't forget, for those of you that are going to be using neon, we're going to be adding some neon highlights in a little bit. We're almost there. Take some water. I took some water by dipping my brush into the cup. You notice it mixed with some of the blue paint that I had in the brush. It's okay. I want a subtle orange color. So there's a little bit of water in here, a little tiny touch of blue. The blue that I used for the background mixed in because it was in my brush. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm just going to pick some spots. I'm going to bring the camera forward. I'm sorry, I'm going to bring the canvas forward towards the camera. Again, I'm just using orange right now. And that was with just the orange. It does, huh? Yes. Yes, Pamage. Exactly. Pamage just asked, great question. Pamage just asked, is the orange a reflection of the sky? It sure is. That's exactly right. So we've got some reflections in the sky. So we also want to do that with maybe some of this purple. A little bit. Doesn't require a lot. So I still have some of my purple over here. Oh, sorry. I have some of the original purple that I'll mix in with some of the white to lighten it up a little. And this is really subtle. Okay, you probably don't even need to add any purple, but you could just come in and add a little bit of this. Just putting in some of the colors that are in the sky in the water. Same brush, my number 6 round, or sorry, number 6 flat. Same technique. Using the skinny part of my brush and just coming through here and adding in some of this purple. We can add it up in here in the foamy part of the water. Just really little tiny bit of this. Okay. Then I'm also going to grab some yellow. I just scoop up some yellow with the same brush. And over here, I'm going to add a little more yellow over the sun as well. So this is really subtle. There's nothing super um, intense or obvious about this, except for on the yellow part, right near where the sun is, where the sun's reflecting in the water. But all the other reflections in the water are just really subtle. You're just barely touching. You're barely skimming the top of the canvas with your brush. Okay. And then, of course, we want to add more yellow over the sun. I'm taking my little round brush, little skinny thing, round number 3. I cleaned it up because there was black in it before. We don't want to use any of that black. So I'm going to grab some yellow, just yellow, right over the top. All right. Looking pretty good. Let me take a little step back, make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, that is funny. This is what Charlene was talking about. So these two look like they're almost connected. We could do that, right? We could actually bring the whole beach across and the rocks can connect and everything else. That'd be kind of a cool. You'd only need one sun though, right? Not two suns. All right, let me take a step back, make sure that I'm not missing anything before we talk about neon. So I've got a black light right here that so this is already a pretty fluorescent color, but it's not actually a neon like the neon colors that I was talking about. So I've got this neon orange and I've got some neon red. I also have some neon purple. So I'm just gonna take some of this neon orange. I'm gonna turn the lights off also, see if it comes through. Once I add this, I'm gonna see if it comes through the video. So a little bit of neon red. I don't know if I'm gonna use the red yet. We'll see. It's more like a neon pink. So Leah, a little bit of neon orange, a little bit of neon pink, and then I've got a little bit of a neon purple. I don't think it's an ultraviolet. Don't know that this is going to work too well with the colors up against the sky, but we'll see. I'm going to start with the orange. So again, this is a neon color. I'm going to take my flat number 6. Let me clean it up a little. So now I'm just going to take some of this orange. And just very subtly and lightly touching the brush against the canvas. Now, the neon colors tend to be a little transparent, so in some of the areas, like right over the top of these, I can paint over them, and it won't make a big difference. But even without it being under a black light, these make a nice difference. Makes everything that we apply these to a lot brighter, a lot sharper. I'm going to take a little bit of orange and a little bit of red and mix the two together. So again, orange and my neon orange and my neon red. I'm going to take some purple and some red now. I'm trying to lighten up the purple a little bit. Now I'm going to take some of this orange and add a little bit of this in the reflections in the water. Glow in the dark yellow for the sun. All right, let's see what that looks like under black light. I'm gonna turn the lights off. You get dark for a moment. See if this comes through. Hold on. Hold on 1 second, folks. Let me turn the laptop away. So it's under black light right now. You see so this one over here has a bunch of the neon colors. The one on the left, the one on the right, not so much. Has a little bit in there, but look at the difference. So it's hard for you guys to see exactly what I'm seeing because of the video, but this is pretty cool. It really, really glows. Okay, lights back on. Knock something over. Okay, so a couple of things. I would sign my masterpiece. That's it for the steps for today. So I would come in here, I would sign my masterpiece. You can take any color. You take a little bit of this light blue. And I'm going to come over here, find a spot, one of the corners. And then the very last thing that I would do, again, because I'm on an easel, I would flip this over, paint this edge. Now, one thing that I know you mentioned earlier, this was really transparent. It would require another layer, and I would do another layer before I sign it. So you'll have to look at yours. If you feel like your area down there needs another layer of paint, then go for it. And then layer over the top, and we're good to go. Well, sorry, I know why I stepped away. I stepped away. My apologies. So what I was saying is, if you look at your piece up in here, and it's not dark enough for you, you would add another layer of black paint to this before you sign it, obviously, right? I like the way mine looks. Mine has a little bit of a little tiny bit of a see-through effect, a little tiny bit. I like it, so I'm going to leave it. So I signed it, and I would flip it, and I would do my bottom edge, paint it that black, and then let it sit like this so that the top dries. Okay. Again, because I'm on an easel, I didn't do that earlier when I did all this in here. So, but anyway, folks, that is it for today. I want to thank all of you for being with me here today. I do apologize about all the technical difficulties, but we'll get those figured out. Again, I'm using new technology, new camera, new software to be able to stream to both Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So that created some little issues that we have to get around, but I'll figure it out. Hopefully by the next one. My goal is to have it figured out by the next one. I'm going to have try to have a wireless mic or a lapel mic that I can walk around my studio. Otherwise, it just becomes really difficult to to do this sitting in one spot. But we'll see. We'll figure it out. Like I said, if you guys are new to the page, please don't forget to like and follow the page so you guys stay up to date with all the cool events that are coming up. Got lots of fun stuff planned. Currently, we have, I think, maybe five more events in February, but I'm planning on adding quite a bit more. So we'll end up total about 10 events in February, maybe even 13. Who knows? I'm planning a lot of things. I've got a lot of stuff behind the scenes. All of this takes a lot of time to prep. So, it's just one of those things where I can't just whip up a painting and post it, and then the next day we're doing it. All of it takes time. I got to plan it out, and so anyhow, lots of stuff going on. But I do want to thank you guys. I really appreciate you being here. If you guys can share the page with your friends, invite people, let them know what we do here on both Facebook and on YouTube. Even if you prefer one platform over the other, if you can still go over and like and follow the platform that you're not, that you don't normally use, that would be fantastic. If you use both of them, then perfect. But By going and liking, you help support the page, and it helps increase the following. So just want to remind you guys, next Thursday, we got this super cool gnomes painting coming up. Later today, I will have the stencils available under the discussion tab of the event page. When you go over to the event page on Facebook Painting with Jesse, you'll click on events and you'll see this there. It has all the details. I'll have the stencils for the gnomes later. I will be teaching you guys how to draw this from scratch, but for those of you that want the extra help, especially the kiddos that like to come out and paint with us, the stencils will be available for you guys to print out and then cut out, or however you guys like to trace them onto your canvas. I plan on doing the background first. We'll paint the background in first before we draw on the gnomes. So just keep that in mind. I know some of you guys like to prep beforehand, but we'll be doing the background first, then I'll be drawing over the background, and then we'll paint in the gnomes. But that's next Thursday. 1 second. Our little on Saturday, or morning 11 a.m. in the morning on Saturday, Pacific time. We're doing this one here, drawing it by hand. We're going to have a lot of kiddos on here for sure, but it's open to everyone. Same thing, go over to the event tab. You'll find the information there. And then on the 24th, we got this one coming up. So I'll be teaching you guys how to draw and how to paint the Blue Jays. But I did make the stencils available. Those are already available under that event tab on the main Painting with Jesse page. There are 2 other events that are currently scheduled. You guys will have to go check those out. So 2 more? 1 more. There's 1 more event currently scheduled, but I'll be adding more. So might be adding 1 more next week, and then definitely more through the end of the month. And 1 more time, just a reminder for any of you that would like to help support the page, it is most definitely appreciated. I have Venmo, and I have a PayPal, and I have a Zelle. This information is listed under the description of this video. Go check that out. There's also my LinkTree information in the description of the video. If you click on that, all this information is there. But all right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope to see you all very soon. Hopefully, you guys all have an amazing rest of the day. All right. Thank you, guys. See you soon. Oh, don't forget to send me pictures of your masterpieces. Dang, I forgot to repeat that a bunch of times. I was getting too caught up with the microphone stuff. Please send me pictures of your masterpieces that you painted with me today. Send them to me on Painting with Jesse here on Messenger. Okay, so Painting with Jesse on Messenger. Send me pictures. I like to gather them all together, and then I share them in one giant post, either tomorrow or the next day once I've gathered quite a few of your pieces. Okay, whether you finish today or you finish tomorrow, send those over to me. I'd greatly appreciate it. Okay, guys, have an awesome rest of the weekend. Talk to you guys all very soon. Bye-bye.